When someone challenges you as a leader in the center of a democracy, that it's so easy to just throw that person under the bus. If it is a woman, and I don't want to make this gendered, but you have to recognize, look at the body count of women: Jody, Jane, myself, Leona, Miriam Monsef, Ava Nassef, Chrystia Freeland. The body count is racking up.
Yes, the bodies are racking up. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We got a bit of a crazy one today. The past 48 hours have been pretty hectic. Late Sunday night, we heard that Sean Fraser was not running for re-election. And then early this morning at 8 a.m., Chrystia Freeland drops a bomb of a resignation, basically revealing what's behind the curtain with the Liberal Party. Now, before we get into some of the clips, the main focus of today was supposed to be the fall economic statement, which Freeland was supposed to be presenting. However, because she resigned early in the morning, that was no longer her job. So today in question period, Pierre decided to ask, who is it?
Opposition.
For the finance minister. Who are you?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, at a time when Canadians are struggling, we are happy to bring forward measures that are going to assist them. Things like the GST tax cut that took place starting this past Saturday, going until February 15th. And while the Conservative leader and the members of his caucus stay focused on us, we're going to stay focused on helping.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, just to underline the chaos we're faced with here, the finance minister resigned the day she was to present the fall budget, which was going to contain a massive deficit overrun. The job then went automatically to the industry minister, who immediately resigned, like on the spot, which then went down the line, and the next person in order was the famous two Randys. And they're not available to do the job either. We're now less than 2 hours away from the fall economic update. Why won't the Prime Minister have the courage to come in here, present it himself, and put it for a confidence vote tonight?
Now, to me, this sounds like a splendid idea from Pierre, and Jagmeet actually agreed with him today because on his press conference, he went as far as telling Trudeau that he must resign. However, when the media questioned him and asked Jagmeet if he was going to have a vote of non-confidence, well, this was his answer.
Right now, Canadians are struggling with the cost of living. I hear it everywhere I go. People cannot find a home that they can afford. They can't buy their groceries. And on top of that, we have Trump threatening tariffs at 25%, which put hundreds and thousands of Canadian jobs at risk. And instead of focusing on these issues, Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are focused on themselves. They're fighting themselves instead of fighting for Canadians. And for that reason, today I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to resign. He has to go.
Will you declare no confidence in the Liberal government as soon as possible?
All tools, all options are on the table. People are hurting. People are struggling. And so all options are on the table.
Just to clarify, you're calling for him to resign, but you are not willing to vote no confidence in his government? How do those two things connect?
All options are on the table.
That's not an answer.
All options.
That's not an answer.
What does this mean for your support with the Liberals, though? How can you say he needs to resign, but then you're not telling us what you're going to do for non-confidence?
Telling you that all options are on the table.
Right.
Will you support the Fez? And also, are you willing to continue to support the Liberals if there is a different leader aside from Trudeau?
Right now, that's not in front of us. There's no votes in front of us, but we will take each vote. And right now, literally, everything's on the table.
Mr. saying that all options are on the table. So why are you holding out the option to still support this government? I understand that you're saying that you might, trigger a confidence vote, but why are you still holding out the option? What is the glimmer of hope that you're seeing to possibly support the Fez or possibly support this government in some other way?
Depends on the votes. And so I want to make it very clear. Justin Trudeau has to go. He has to resign. Okay. And because of that, all options are on the table. And we'll look at each vote and we'll make a decision. But now all options are on the table. Paul Wells. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Sir, that room behind you is a parliament. The government continues to govern as long as MPs continue to have confidence in the government. You have no say over who the leader of the Liberal Party is. Will you support the government, or are you withdrawing your support from the government?
With respect to that, I've said that all options are on the table. That means everything is possible. But what is clear, given what we have seen, Justin Trudeau and a Liberal government that are focused on themselves, they are infighting at a time when people cannot even do their groceries. They can't even find homes that are affordable. And we've got the threat of Donald Trump and 25% tariffs that mean hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk. Because of that, I'm saying very clearly that Justin Trudeau has to resign. All options on the table. Thank you very much. Merci. Thank you.
As you heard, all options are on the table, and clearly this guy didn't give any solid answers, as he never does during his press conferences. However, Peter Julian, a member of the NDP, was on CBC today talking to David Cochrane, and he gave us the insight that they're basically going to be calling a vote of non-confidence after Jagmeet gets his pension late February. These guys returned from their 6-week break late January, early February, but Peter Julian kept emphasizing late February, early March, which is exactly around the same time that Jagmeet would get his pension. Take a listen.
Peter Julian, your leader said today that Justin Trudeau needs to go and that all options are on the table when it comes to voting in the House of Commons. Does that mean the NDP is finally ready to vote non-confidence in the Liberals? Where are you?
Well, it's very clear. I mean, Jagmeet said it's time for the Prime Minister to step down. We certainly saw this from this debacle today. I mean, we're not talking about an amateur dysfunctional community organization. We're talking about a G7 nation. And this fall economic update was a complete travesty, a debacle. And the Liberals are just consumed with this internal drama and the Prime Minister's drama. And it is time for him to go so that we can actually get back to putting in place things that will actually make a benefit to people and to take on the Trump tariffs that are coming within a matter of weeks.
Okay, so what if he doesn't, Mr. Julian? I mean, like, if they can't convince him to go, I'm not sure Jagmeet Singh's scrum today will convince the Prime Minister to go, but you have the parliamentary might to force him to go. I mean, what if he doesn't leave willingly? What are you going to do then?
There will be confidence motions when we come back in February, March, and that will be the time when the NDP will follow up on what Jagmeet Singh said today. I don't know whether the Prime Minister is going to survive this evening. I know of many Liberal MPs that are deeply upset. Obviously, the former Finance Minister, Ms. Freeland, sent a very clear message about her feelings about the Prime Minister. And I think the public has also said what their feelings are about the Prime Minister. He needs to heed that message.
Okay, but you said there's going to be confidence votes in February and in March. Does that mean if Justin Trudeau is still the Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party in February and March, does all options on the table mean the NDP will vote non-confidence in the government in those 2 months on that timeline?
If we're talking the end of February and the beginning of March, and Mr. Trudeau has not stepped down, hasn't heeded that call from his own caucus, from his own cabinet, from all the opposition parties, then yes. So of course that would mean if we're coming up to a straight up non-confidence motion the end of February, early March, that's one of the tools that we have.
Now, I'll save you all the headache of having to continue listening to Peter Julian there, because he goes on for like another 2-3 minutes and says it a few more times. February, March. Now, one thing Peter mentioned there was that a lot of Liberals have been putting forward that Trudeau should resign. And a few months ago, we had that little coup happen where 20 or so MPs signed a letter saying that he should step down. Nothing happened from there. He came out, Trudeau came out saying, oh, we're stronger than ever. Everybody apparently rallied behind him, said that we're good. Well, now is a different story. A lot more MPs were coming out saying, no, he should resign pre-caucus meeting and post-caucus meeting. And this national caucus meeting was actually put forward by Anthony Housefather, one of the other Liberals. And he was on Vashti's show just before the caucus meeting, or question period before the caucus meeting, and got a little emotional talking about Freeland. But when Vashti asked him point blank if Trudeau should resign, this was his reaction.
Do you think the Prime Minister should resign?
Yes.
Why?
I had asked him to do so a couple of months ago, I had written to him. I'd said it at caucus. I think at this point, most Canadians are fiscally prudent and socially liberal. They see the Conservative Party as strayed far to the right. They feel the Liberal Party is strayed far to the left. And if the Prime Minister remains, I believe he is the ballot question. Every Canadian, before they ask anything else, will be saying, do I want Justin Trudeau to stay Prime Minister or not? And through, a lot of issues internationally, right? You all see governments are unpopular. Incumbents have a certain shelf life in social media age. I believe the Prime Minister has passed that shelf life. And I think that for Canadians to have a real choice on the table in terms of things that they will go beyond just saying, did they want him to be Prime Minister or not? We need to have a different leader with a different vision for the Liberal Party to be viable in the next election.
Ms. Jacek, I'll ask the same question of you. Do you think the Prime Minister should resign?
Yes, I do.
Why?
I have been observing what has been transpiring both in Parliament and within caucus over the last several months. And as you know, I was here on your show to say that I felt a secret ballot in terms of the leadership of the Prime Minister was important to clear the air, to have people express their feelings about his leadership and what was being achieved. I'm a loyal Liberal. I wouldn't be here as a member of Parliament if I weren't. And what I have been observing is that we are not able to bring Liberal policies forward in a constructive manner. I was hoping we would be working on a future platform for the next election, where we would be discussing how we want to help Canadians and move forward. And that simply has not been occurring. Parliament is all tied up, as you know. We haven't had the opportunity for that kind of good discussion within caucus about the way forward.
Mr. Housefather, you referenced a couple of months ago, right, when there were other members of caucus who put forward, at the time even, a concern about the Prime Minister's leadership. Obviously, he was able at that point to withstand it. I imagine you've had other conversations today with your fellow MPs in the Liberal Party. What is your sense of where they sit? Like, is there additional pressure given Chrystia Freeland, of all people, saying what she did today?
Well, I mean, again, I think we're at a precipice right now, and I think people will need to make decisions. I know what I hear from my constituents. I've heard it for a very long time. It's gotten ramped up and ramped up even more. And I know that for the vast majority of my constituents I hear from, they want to be able to vote Liberal. They would prefer he not be the leader of the party at this point. And I really believe that the rest of caucus now needs to seriously reflect on the message that Chrystia gave today. They need to seriously reflect on where we are in the polls, right? The Prime Minister's negatives are minus 37. Not at zero, but minus 37. And whether or not we like it, that's just a fact. And we're more than 20 points behind in the polls. Whether people like it or not, that's a fact. We're not going to simply convince everybody we ran a great government for the last 3 years by just repeating it. I think people want to see actual change.
And Anthony's not wrong. People do want to see actual change, but it's not just with the Liberal government or the Liberal Party changing leaders. It's them getting out of power. We're tired of the Liberal government. They haven't done anything beneficial for the past 9-10 years. And yeah, as he said, their shelf life is done. Not just Trudeau's, but the party in general. None of these ministers really are well liked. We've seen those Nanos polls or Abacus polls. Most of the time, none of the above is the most popular pick in terms of who they would want as a Liberal leader or somebody to take over for Justin. So it's not even that's the change. People are just tired of the Liberals. But as I mentioned, there was a lot more coverage of Liberal MPs saying that Trudeau needs to resign. At one point, I think Mark Holland was kind of insinuating that he was potentially going to be resigning as well pretty soon. But we're going to start it off with Charlie Angus of the NDP and his reaction on live TV on CBC when he found out about the Freeland situation.
What the I mean, how does the Prime Minister on the eve of a statement that we've been waiting for months, deep six his finance minister, and think that things are going to be normal?
And it's prompting more public calls for resignation from inside his own party.
let's put it this way. Firing a Minister of Finance who has served you extremely well is not what I would call a trustworthy move.
I've been a great defender, but I just don't see how we move forward. I think he needs to go, yeah.
Mr. Collins, what are you going to say to the Prime Minister tonight?
Resign.
It's over there.
Thank you.
So he should resign?
Yes.
What's your message? What's your message to the Prime Minister?
Why go public?
What did the Prime Minister say about his future?
There's too many crises that the Prime Minister needs to go.
The Prime Minister said in his future that he's going to meet with some people tonight, and he's looking forward to the Christmas party tomorrow night.
Do you understand he's staying on as leader? What's your understanding?
Christmas party? You're kidding.
You were one of the ministers who was rumored to maybe resign today. Are you staying in cabinet?
I'm of course in cabinet. No, of course I'm in cabinet. I'm just not at this time. Look, there's a lot to take in today, and so at this moment I'm not prepared to say anything.
But you're weighing your future, though?
No, I'm here for the long run.
What about the Prime Minister? Should he be here for the long run?
Your concerns in the letter today, sir, have they changed in the last 15 meetings? No, they haven't.
James Maloney says that caucus is united behind the Prime Minister. Is that correct?
No.
He says that. Can you just pause for a second to explain?
Can you describe this meeting? Can you characterize the meeting?
Thank you. I'm not going to breach confidentiality in terms of what happened in caucus, but I can say we're not united. There's still a number of our members who feel we need a change in leadership. I'm one of those. We fear what a Make Canada Great Again agenda from Mr. Poilievre means to our constituents. And I think the only path forward for us is to choose a new leader and present a new plan to Canadians with a different vision.
So you heard it there, a bit of a questionable response from Mark Holland, the pausing, the kind of stuttering, the thinking about how to answer the question instead of just a straight out yes or no, I'm staying or I'm going. But as you heard from John Maloney earlier, just before Holland, he mentioned that Trudeau was going to a Christmas party. So this was a Liberal event, and Trudeau actually tried to sneak out some back way after this caucus meeting, so he didn't run into reporters. However, there was some reporters that knew where he was going to be exiting from, and there was a heckler, as they're calling him, a heckler. I think he's one of a treasure of Canada, standing out there too, calling him out and yelling at him just before he makes his way to this Liberal event. Now we're going to take a look at the Liberal event, but here, first just listen to what the gentleman had to say to Trudeau.
You guys, clear path here. Clear path, please. Clear path.
What gives you the right to continue?
Guys.
What gives you the right to stay in office?
No
You
bank.
failed Canada. You've ruined our country. You're done. Walk away. You don't have an ounce of your father's integrity. At least he walked in the snow. You've ruined this country. Everyone around you is running from you. They're abandoning you. Freeland, Sean Fraser, they've all left you. It's time for you to go. It's time for Canada to have an election. You're not the king. You're not the king of this country. You are not our king. You are a public servant and you have failed.
Okay, there, I don't want to get you.
Somebody has got to find that guy and give him a medal, because that was beautiful. But he's true. Trudeau does not have any integrity. This guy is an egomaniac. He just thinks about himself. And you're actually going to see this when he's at this Liberal event. This to me proves that he is not going to step down until, I guess, a vote of non-confidence. This guy is so narcissistic that he's just going to keep running the party until it doesn't exist. And this is what I'm talking about. Take a look at the speech that he's giving at this event.
Thank you all for being here tonight. It's obviously been an eventful day, and it has not been an easy day. But I wanted to come here tonight and speak with you, dedicated, devoted members of the Liberal Party, because you, not me or any other politician, are the beating heart of this movement. You are the ones that know that when we all put in the work together, we can accomplish great things. And I cannot emphasize enough just how damn proud I am of what we have done over the past 9 years, and it's because of you.
Now, before we get to the part what I was talking about, it blows my mind that he's saying what we've accomplished in the past 9 years, where the country's been the worst it's ever been since these guys have gotten to the power. And you have a room full of liberals going, woohoo, yeah, it was because of us. Like, they're so disconnected, it's unbelievable. But as I mentioned, this next part of his little speech, this is the proof to me that he's not going anywhere.
I love this country. I really do. I trust Canadians. There is no place I'd rather be than Canada, and it is the absolute privilege of my life to serve as your Prime Minister.
Now, you can call me crazy, but this guy is just relishing in these cheers. And like you heard from the heckler, he's not the king, but he's standing there like he is. I love this country. I love waking up and being your prime minister. It's so grotesque and phony and fake. And unfortunately, we are just seeing history repeat itself. As I close out this video, I'm going to leave you with two clips. One was from 3 years ago with the old leader of the Green Party, Annamie Paul, who called out Trudeau right then and there, saying he was a fake feminist and listed all of the women he's thrown under the bus. And one of those women, Selena, who you saw in the opening, she's going to close off the show with this message that she gave to Trudeau just before she left.
I have said before, and I'll say again tonight, that I do not believe that Mr. Trudeau is a real feminist. A feminist doesn't continue to push strong women out of his party when they are just seeking to serve. And I will say their names tonight and thank them. Thank you, Jane Philpott. Thank you, Jody Wilson-Raybould. Thank you, Selena Cesar Chavez. And I'm here tonight thanks to the work that you have done.
Where you say what?
Well, the conversation was a courtesy call to tell him that I was no longer going to be running in the 2019 election. And what I had thought naively was that I was going to get the Prime Minister saying, you know, Selena, I value your contribution. I hope that you'd run again. I didn't get any of that. What I got was, you know, Selena, I can't have you make this announcement today because Jody Wilson-Raybould resigned today, and I can't have two powerful women of color leave. He went on to talk about his privilege and how people keep talking about his privilege. He went on to say that I should appreciate him. I should appreciate what he's done for me in the time that I've been in government, as if I didn't work hard. And at the end of it, you know, at the end of his rant, I said, you know, motherfucker, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You know, if he had spoken to any member of my constituency, any 130,000 member of Whitby that way, I would have had said the exact same thing, and I'd likely do it again.
Okay, okay, but I mean, that's a hell of a thing to say to the Prime Minister of the country, right?
Well, it's not just a hell of a thing to say to the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister is speaking to me like a child, like someone that he happens to own within his government, what am I supposed to say? Am I still supposed to be polite in that context? I don't think so.